listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okelo. I am really excited to be here with you for another episode of the African Father in America podcast, AFIA podcast. And today I'm really privileged to be here with one of the artists from here in the Pacific Northwest, activist, chef, Grace Love, who is an incredible, human being that I really look up to, a very soulful singer and someone you should really hear a lot from. So today is really an honor. Grace, go ahead and say hello before we begin the show.
Hi, how you doing, everyone?
Excellent. So we are going to learn a lot about, Grace Love today, her musical journey. We are going to also talk about today's proverb and talk about how, the summer has been for her, but also, some of the projects she's working on that you can all listen to and can support. But before we go too far, we are going to share today's proverb. Our proverb today is really beautiful. It takes us to Senegal, I haven't shared a Senegalese proverb in a while, and our proverb today is a healthy ear can stand hearing sick words. This is a beautiful Senegalese proverb, and we will explore what this proverb really means. I'm going to share with you 3 nuggets of wisdom related to this proverb, and then we will just dive deep into learning a little more about Grace Love's story. I truly thank you, Grace, for being here so early in the morning, This is the kind of podcast that only the strongest or only the, I don't know what to say, but only the crazy ones show up for.
Yes, good.
Yeah. So here is our first nugget of wisdom related to today's proverb from Senegal, resilience in communication, in the era of social media, and also as a parent, sometimes you communicate but nobody hears you, but you have something important to say, but everybody is kind of distracted, so you have to be resilient. You have to repeat saying the same thing over and over again until your message is heard, And then the second thing is strength through empathy is our second nugget of wisdom. Sometimes people think that by being a bully, by being the outspoken one, and not being empathetic to others at all is what strength is. But sometimes silence, being empathetic, reaching out to other people is what really gives you strength. No matter what people say, sometimes you just sit there and watch, so being empathetic is really, really important. That's what this proverb is teaching us. And then lastly, it's teaching us that inner fortitude is very, very important. You have the power to shield yourself from the toxicity of our hurtful words. A lot of us even tell ourselves very hurtful things to ourselves, So by cultivating a strong and healthy mindset, you can even shield yourself from yourself, because a lot of the time, the first thing we wake up is we start telling ourselves how terrible we are. We haven't even gotten out of bed yet. It's important that we listen to a message that a friend of mine who is a former child soldier, his name is Emmanuel Jal. I talked about this yesterday during yesterday's episode. He was recently touring Asia, Singapore, Vietnam, and he was touring schools as well. And I had a video where he was saying that when somebody tells you one bad thing about yourself, you should tell yourself 10 good things about yourself immediately, And that is really, really important in today's world where you wake up and you either, put yourself down or you interact with so many things that make you want to put yourself down. So those are our nuggets of wisdom to get our conversation started today. And one more time, I'm just going to put today's proverb on your screen. A healthy ear can stand hearing sick words. So, just to introduce my guest one more time, with creativity coursing through Grace Love's vein, she has been an innovator since the moment she could express herself. And following her heart, she has chosen to take the path that is less traveled, where she's embracing the role of a soul singer, an artist, a chef, and an activist. And I feel that Grace Love is someone who has impacted me just by watching her moves, seeing the work that she's doing in the community here in the Pacific Northwest. And so today is really, really an honor to have you on the Afia podcast. And I want you to take a minute and talk about this proverb. When we sent it to you, what did it bring to your mind?
Wow. Thank you so much, Simon. I'm happy to be here this morning. Um, I totally had a different view of it. Actually, my view of it was when you're grounded in your truth, no one can shake you, and I saw that like um, nothing rotten thrown your way can break your growth. And I've definitely lived in that space where people can say what they want to say about you, but as long as you know how you are and what your truth is, nobody can shake that grounding from you. Nobody can take that from you. And I also agree, though, that silence is so important sometimes because it's easy to see a situation and like throw something back instead of just sitting with it for a minute and being like, you know what, I don't have to respond to this. So I think that, yeah, um, I don't know. It's about being growing, and giving yourself that space.
100%. It takes wisdom for such kind of growth to happen, and for you to let certain things pass, because
Yeah.
some people actually do things to poke you so that you can say something,
Yes.
so that they can
Yeah.
come back at you, and that's something you can easily overcome by just being silent and watching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, for everyone who is joining us across all the platforms where we are currently live, especially YouTube, I want to encourage you to take a minute and subscribe to the channel, and also give this video a thumbs up if you haven't done so. But I know that we are live on LinkedIn, we are live on Facebook, we are live on X, that's Twitter. We are also live on AMP. So take a minute, make sure you follow me on these platforms, and make sure you're also sharing your comments so that we can know what it is that you feel about today's proverb. Now, as we continue with our conversation, one of the questions that I love asking my guests is really to share with us a story, a childhood story that inspires who you are today. And I love sharing the story of how, when I was 8 years old, my mother gave me a bicycle and asked me to support her business that she was growing. She was distributing milk and bread in our neighborhood in Kisumu, Kenya. I grew up in a very rough neighborhood in the slum, in the ghetto. But my mom was always very entrepreneurial. She was always thinking of solutions. Whenever we were encountering challenges, she was always thinking of how can I overcome this situation. And so by her allowing me to help her with her business and be one of the distributors, I really learned to do what I do today. I learned how to build relationships. I learned how to be an entrepreneur, and to just be in community and be able to thrive. And I wanted you to think about a story that when you look back, it reminds you of what you're doing today. Before the show, I was just watching your live on KEXP performance, which was really, really beautiful.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so take us back to the years that built who you are today.
Oh, I mean, there's so many stories. My dad, he was like probably the first food truck in uh, the Tacoma, Seattle area before food trucks were a thing. But one of the stories was I will never forget having to walk. Like we either didn't have a car that would work, or we didn't have gas money, and so in order to get places, we would have to walk. And so for me, one of the things was making small goals during that walk. If it had to be half a mile or a mile or 2 miles, I'd be like, okay, when I get to that stop sign, that means there's only two lights and a hill to go down. And as soon as I got to that stop sign, I'm like, okay, there's only two lights. When I got to that first light, there's only one light. So I would make small goals in order to make that walk manageable for my little tiny brain. And I do that now in my life, and it just gives me just a sense of urgency when I'm doing these long drives for shows or for anything, picking up my son. I just every day I'm like, okay, I got this little goal that I need to meet, and I don't know, it just built something in me that still is to, just to show my resilience, but also to just to give me something that I don't know, feels connected to my past and what I had to go through, and like how strong I had to have been as a small child to um, create that thing that got me through. So just like making little goals. So yeah, walking. That's like one of my one of my things when people are like, "Oh, we're about to go walking." I'm like, "I got this."
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Man, it reminds me so much about growing up in Kenya. We walked a lot, we walked
Yeah.
to school every day. We walked to the market. I don't know. Maybe this is why we have a lot of good athletes in our communities. If you look at Sharika Johnson, then you look at the Kenyan athletes who are winning all everywhere. It's really this foundation, of a lot of physical activities as we were little. I love that. I love that so much. I want you to now bring us back to the current, to the current moment. When you think about, you know, I was looking at some of the activities, the festivals you're performing in this summer, and then just reflecting on some of our conversations in the recent years, and just feeling like you're quiet, but you're doing incredible things. Imagine that you took a dream trip to Africa, and you are,
Oh, my
and
heart.
you are meeting all these, brothers and sisters, uh, and one of them asked you, share with me, what excites you the most when you look back at your entire career, whether it's an artist, as an artist, a chef, an activist. What is the first thing that you'd share with this group of excited young people?
Oh my gosh. Okay, they probably wouldn't be too excited, but for me personally, my biggest accomplishment is my son, because he has shown me what I'm capable of, and it's massive. But career-wise, just getting to perform for people that want to hear me. Um, and that's happened all over. I mean, I've done shows where I've just played street festivals and people will stop and miss their buses because I've somehow done something deeply for them. And I think that it's I feel like my biggest accomplishment is yet to come. And so I'm still learning. So I think that that's a huge thing is I'm still learning um, uh, what that means. And um, I don't think that you ever stop when you're an artist and an activist, and you're working for something. You never stop growing. You know, you never stop challenging yourself. So I have yet to know what that big thing is yet. So I hope they wouldn't be disappointed, but I would tell them.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
yeah,
you're my biggest
yeah.
accomplishment.
you
Yeah.
know just your level of humility is just incredible, and I think that's really something that we need, from talented artists like you, from leaders, but especially from parents, and I'm so glad that you say that in your opinion, your biggest accomplishment is really being able to raise your son, and seeing that that has taught you what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Can you speak more about that? Because I'm a father of 3 girls too, and I feel like that is really my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, I was told for so long that I wasn't able to have children. And so it shaped kind of the way I lived my life, to be honest. And then this little miracle came, and I had to sit with it because it was very hard, emotionally, physically, it took over my whole being. And there were days where I like, I can't. How am I going to pull this off? What am I going to do? This is really hard. This is really scary. And I I had to like find some different sense of strength within myself. And so yeah, it was just it turned me on my head, and it really like gave me this sense of like when you do want something and you're strong enough to take that into account, you can achieve anything. It's mind-boggling what I went through. I mean, I don't even really remember all of the pregnancy situation, but I know that I have a 4-year-old right now, and he's definitely me. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm raising a whole person that reminds me of myself. So yeah, it's incredible to see that. I mean, every day that he challenges me, I'm like, okay, all right, I did this.
Man, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. It's like your reflection. It's really like
Yes,
your reflection, because
exactly.
yeah, because I feel that through my daughters, and each of them have different characters and different vibe, but the resistance, sometimes they resist what you're trying to suggest, go to bed, and they're like, I will not go to bed, and they're very clear.
Yes.
They're very clear with the message, and they're not afraid of you, because for me, I feel like, people respect me, and I expect my child to be able to go to bed when it's bedtime. But you've tried everything, you've tried to make them comfortable, and then they look at you in the eyes and they say, hey, daddy,
No.
I just need space, And
Yeah.
then I'm like, you're very lucky. If you are growing up in Africa, you would have been spanked, or something would have happened that you would have never said that to me. But then I realized that this is really beautiful, because I'm having an opportunity to learn about this human being that we are going to be related with forever, And
Yeah.
for me, that is powerful. That is powerful,
Yeah.
because I don't know exactly how my mom parented me or how my dad parented me, but I know that we were so many that she was always overwhelmed. Our
Yeah.
house was always full of people besides us. We were 9 siblings. And I was raised in a polygamist family. So my
Yeah.
mother was the second wife. The first wife had more children, and
Yeah.
so we were always living with relatives. We were then in the, like, from 1997 to 2013, our home was turned into an orphanage, because HIV was very prevalent in my hometown. Actually, my hometown had the highest HIV prevalence in the world for almost a decade, and
Wow.
so seeing so many people around me meant that my mom gave so many people attention, and I was not given the kind of attention I'm giving my kids now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, and besides all these things I do, I'm actually a full-time father. I spend most of my time with my kids, so I get
Yeah.
to know them really well, but they also get to know me really well. So
Yes, they do.
yeah. Anyway, I see a lot of people joining us for the show today. Thank you all so much. Please comment with your own perspectives on the conversation that we are having here with Grace Love, who is an incredibly talented artist, chef, and activist. We should have you as one of the featured chefs for the Taste of Madaraka Festival. I would love that. I would love that. So let me actually talk a little bit about the Taste of Madaraka Festival here real quick. I have actually been producing the Taste of Madaraka Festival since 2016, featuring chefs from different parts of Africa. Like September 17th, we will have a Ugandan chef. Her name is Regina Bukenya. And in October, we will have a Kenyan chef. And then in November, we'll have a Ghanaian chef. In December, we'll have a Zimbabwean chef. So maybe January, we should have you, Grace Love, so that we have some, soul food,
I'd be honored. I'd be terrified, but I'd be honored.
I honestly feel that you should just mark your calendar the third Sunday of January so that we have you as the featured chef. So,
All right, it's marked.
it's marked. And yeah, so imagine you're the featured chef and you're the featured artist,
I mean, that's what I do. That's
Okay,
literally what I do.
well, January, we are going to start next year so strong, Anyway, I'll talk about a second event that I'm currently pushing, but I really want everyone who is watching to take a minute and go to Eventbrite and get your tickets for the Taste of Madaraka Festival. I just shared a little bit about it, and we just got our chef for January. This is incredible. But Grace Love, I feel like you need to talk a little bit about your food and talk a little bit about some of the things that go on in our community that you're very passionate about as an activist, that you love advocating against or you love advocating for.
Okay. Some of the food I grew up in the Pacific Northwest with parents from the South, so my food is like a fusion of all those things. So I mean, I love to cook everything. One of the things that I love advocating for is um, just humans in general, but definitely seeing black women, black womening is one of my favorite things, and just making sure that not only do we have a positive platform to shine on, but also that making sure that people and just femme presenting people are getting the respect that they deserve um, in these kind of creative spaces, and um, just working together with um, uplifting those voices and stuff, because there are a lot of incredible chefs out there, and there are a lot of incredible just people out there that don't necessarily have the platforms that some of us do. And it's all about just making sure the collective is protected. But yeah, I love good food, and I just want to make sure everybody's making it, like I want to make sure that ladder is steady and those steps are steady so everybody can, come up those steps. Um, I don't think I believe in the, oh, you just got to work as hard as I did. If I got the resources, you don't have to work as hard as I did, like I'm blessed to have had parents that, gave me a foundation of that. So, yeah, I mean, if I got to work hard and that makes it easier for you, I'm gonna let you do that. Like, let's do that. Why make it harder for somebody else? So, that's literally my message is let's all get in this together.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. For those who are joining us, my guest is Grace Love, who is an incredible artist, chef, and you should actually go and watch Grace Love on KXP. I was just watching your set on KXP with the True Loves, who are a huge, incredible band. That also shows how Seattle's music scene is really one of the richest in the world. I just love that. So.
Yeah, and I'm also actually not with that group anymore. But there is a couple of live performances on there as well. Other ones where I'm solo.
Well, I want you to speak about just the musical scene here in the Pacific Northwest. just briefly, because a lot of people are watching this show, they only know me for Madaraka Festival. But they don't know that it's because of the rich musical scene in this region of the world. That is why Madaraka Festival has been thriving and is known as one of the few African festivals that bring live music, to our African diaspora community. So just speak to growing up in this region, filled with some of the best musicians in the world, and also, talk about your dream shows that you'd like to maybe get to over the next decade.
The music scene is very rich. I mean, things change profusely. I was with that group a long time ago, actually about 8 years ago, and now I've been with this amazing band of people um, who all kind of hail from Cornish. But they're all like beautiful, strong jazz musicians, and we've just had such a fun time learning and growing about each other. It just ranges here. There's just so many different things that I didn't even know. There's a beautiful hip hop scene here. Um, there's definitely a beautiful, thick, deep, gorgeous R&B scene here. Um, I love rock and roll, and I love, I'm soulful, and I love blues. So all of those things are here in the Pacific Northwest, which is really crazy. Everybody thinks when they think of Seattle, it's grunge and it's punk rock, and all those things do exist here, which is really cool. Um, and I have been so lucky to be a part of literally all of those scenes. And it's just like deep, and it's amazing. I mean, the scene here is incredible. Um, and I'm like learning about like how it moves, because I'm still a baby, considering, even though I've been in this industry for 20 years, I'm still a baby learning about the music scene here in Seattle, because it's so vast and big. And then could you follow up with the other question? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no,
That
no
you had.
problem, no problem. I just also wanted you to, get share with us how we can stay connected with you, how we can support your music, and where we can actually go and listen and even watch some of your material.
Okay, yeah. Well, you can go to my website, which is gracelove.co, just CO. And if you Google Grace Love on Spotify, I will pop up. And some of the great things about the interwebs is you can find all the things by just Googling Grace Love Soul Singer, and it'll pop up with my Bandcamp, which is actually the best way to support me, because that money definitely goes directly to us. But if you can't do that, or you have a Spotify subscription, Spotify's great too, as far as like getting those numbers up and having people pay attention to what I'm doing. But yeah, great. It's just under Grace Love. And yeah, I mean, and Instagram is like my favorite platform to be on. I'm pretty much always on Instagram.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. I want to talk about the Africa Day Business Forum that is coming up at the end of September. And then after that, I am going to talk about a couple of other things here. So just forgive me while I pull the Africa Day Business Forum. Just forgive me here for a second as I grab the Africa Day Business Forum image. I want to make sure I show it to you real quick, so give me 1 minute here. And again, it's happening on the 30th of September. This is the 23rd annual Africa Day Business Forum. I have been to this event maybe 7 times since I moved here to Seattle. And this event brought people like Desmond Tutu to Seattle. A lot of African leaders have come to Seattle because of the Africa Day Business Forum. It was actually started by one of the first Africans to come to the Pacific Northwest. He came here during the time that Obama's father came here. He also came here through an education scholarship. And since then, he's been helping companies from Africa connect with companies here He's been connecting governments from Africa with the governments here and really creating trade, bilateral trade between Africa and the Pacific Northwest. So go to Eventbrite and get your ticket for the 23rd Annual Africa Day Business Forum, which will be 30th September at the Motif Hotel in downtown Seattle. Again, thank you all so much for joining today's Afia podcast. I see that we've been joined with some of the most incredible friends and fans. I see Kiden joining us all the way from Florida. I see Masha Mutisi, who is our featured chef for December, joining us from Seattle, but she's from Zimbabwe originally. And she says that we look up your work, Grace Love. So she says she's going to look up your work. And then Stephen Okoth is joining us from Kenya. Continue sharing your comments. If you're going to be watching the show later on, make sure you give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So Grace, I know we've come towards the end of our time together, but I just want you to take a minute and speak to something that you really wanted to touch on that I have not asked you. This is your moment to, share anything that we might be leaving out.
I don't think so, but I think that this is an amazing thing that you're doing, and I commend you, and I am honored to share the space with you. Um, Thank you for tying these lines between, um, our home continent and here. It's beautiful and it's amazing the work that you're doing. I think that it just it's such a amazing thing to do, especially as a black woman in America. You don't know how close home is until you get to share space with people who are connected to home. And so this is a beautiful thing that you're doing. I was very tired this morning, and as soon as I had started having this conversation with you, I was feeling more grounded and at peace. So I appreciate you for that. Um, and this is just such a beautiful thing that you're doing, and I'm honored to have been a guest today. And yeah, just keep supporting art, everyone. The most amazing thing you can do, because art is a hard thing to it's a hard thing to do, because it's releasing a lot of things, a lot of emotions. So supporting art in all of its ways is an incredible thing to do. So thank you, Simon, for giving that a platform.
Thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for saying yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it means a lot. So I'll let you go, because I know that we're just beginning our day here in the Seattle area. And to everybody who joined us today, thank you so much. I'll be back here again tomorrow, same time, same place, same vibration. Take care, Grace.
Beautiful. Bye. Have a good
Bye.
day.
You too.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle.